Hello everyone, welcome to a new video of NIOS Senior Secondary course. We're going to see the lesson 8, a case of suspicion. We will be dealing with the vocabulary used in the section 1, and also we are going to see the grammar usage that is being used in this section with some questions. Also, we will be dealing with the in-text question 8.1. So before going to the video, I would like you to subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up if you found the video useful, and share it with your friends too, and comment your valuable feedback in the comment section. Let's start. So this lesson name is a case of suspicion. So let's see what this is all about. It is about a country doctor who sets out to help a patient in the middle of a windy night. Whom does he meet on the way? That's a question. And what does he learn? Let's read and find out. So after you read the whole lesson, you will be able to read and understand a suspense story. You will be able to use phrasal verbs. Then you will be able to change the direct speech to indirect speech, give and understand direction in speech, and write a paragraph reporting experiences. So these are the skills that you will be learning after finishing this lesson. Let's start. First word is suspicion. What does it mean? It means a feeling or a belief that something may be wrong or illegal. Okay, so a sentence with that word would be, she had a suspicion that he was lying insistently. That means it is a way that demands some attention and it cannot be ignored at all. So a sentence with that would be, the telephone rang insistently, refusing to be silenced until someone answered it. Next one is stare. It is to look at something or someone with a fixed and often intense gaze, usually without blinking. So continuously seeing somebody or watching somebody, that is known as staring. So a sentence would be, he could not help but stare at the stunning artwork on the gallery wall. Spirit. The word spirit means it is a non-physical part of a person that is seat of emotions and character. A sentence would be, her positive spirit motivated the entire team during the challenging project. Next one is horrible. Horrible is something that is extremely unpleasant or frightening, or bad in a way that causes strong negative feelings. So it was horrible with relentless rain and howling winds all day. Next is wonder. It means to think about something with curiosity or to be curious about something. Okay, so sentence would be, she wondered how the magician managed to perform his incredible tricks. Next word is obstetrical. It means related to childbirth and the care of pregnant woman. A sentence would be, the doctor packed his obstetrical case filled with tools and supplies needed for the delivery. A private road or path leading from the street to a house or garage where vehicles are typically parked. After a long day at work, he pulled into his driveway and felt a sense of relief. Next word is deserted. It means a place that is empty and uninhabited, often because people have left it. A sentence with that would be, the beach was deserted at sunrise. Now let's read the section 1 of lesson 8. So the first line is, he threw back the covers and sat upon his bed, his feet feeling along the cold floor for his house slippers, the telephone ringing insistently a little distance away. Okay, so this word has to be marked. That's vocabulary is already given, which cannot be ignored and it needs attention. Okay, he turned on the light and walked to the phone and took down the receiver. "This is Dr. Benson," he said. So Dr. Benson is answering the phone call. He just woke up from his sleep, it seems, and he sat on his bed, and it's very cold along, like the weather is cold, and the telephone started ringing and he has to pick it. And then he answers, he is Dr. Benson. November wind was bringing sounds of winter as it blew around the little white house. The doctor got into his clothes. He went to the table and stared a moment at his watch, his spirit complaining at the job ahead of him. So it's November wind, that means it is in the month of November, usually cold winter weather, and he is in the little white house, so that is the adjective used here, little white house. And the doctor, he wore his clothes and started to go for his job. He went to the table and looked at his watch about the time, and his spirit is complaining of what job he's going to do at this point of time, maybe in the midnight, because he got up from the sleep. So it is 2 o'clock. His mind also complained at the horrible hour, frightening hour, and he wondered why children had to be born at such improper times. So he took up 2 small handbags, a short pill bag, as the people of the town knew it, and the long obstetrical case, the baby bag they called it. So it is midnight, 2 o'clock, and the doctor is getting ready to go for his work, and he's imagining or wondering why the kids or the children are born at this time, and it's a horrible hour according to him. And with 2 small bags, a short pill bag, the long obstetrical bag, or people usually call it as baby bag, he's taking all those things and going for his work. So Dr. Benson stopped a moment to light and then put the pack of cigarettes in his overcoat pocket. The wind felt like a surgeon's knife at his face as he opened the door and ran, bending low and around the driveway to the garage. So before leaving, he just put the pack of cigarettes in his pocket, and when he opened the door, the wind was very cold and chill, which made him to feel like a knife put on his face, and bending low, he just went to the driveway to start his car. Now his car started with difficulty, coughed on half a dozen times as he drove down the driveway, but then began to run more smoothly as he turned down Grass Street and onto the deserted highway. So first it made some noises, or it coughed. It's imagined as cough. It gave some difficulty to the doctor when he started driving in his driveway, but as soon as it went to the highway, it started to move smoothly. Odds or lay, who Dr. Benson was on his way to visit. So he was going to visit this lady, already had almost a dozen children. So she had almost 12 kids, but it seemed to the doctor that never once she had a baby in good weather nor daylight. So this lady always had children, or she was ready for delivery during the bad weather or during the night time. So, and while Dr. Benson was a country doctor, he was still a young man and could not find the pleasure that his father, the old Doc Benson, had found in seeing OTG. The father always 2 or 3 babies behind in payment of his baby bills. Mrs. Sorley was the patient, and this country doctor, a young man, was visiting her, and he is thinking that she had enough number of children, like she had almost 12 kids, and they were never born in a good weather or in the daylight. And his father, the doctor's father, was also a doctor who had the same patient, and the father of the kids always had financial crisis to pay the baby bills. So that is what mentioned in the first section of lesson 8, a case of suspicion. Now let's see what are the grammar usage done for this section. Let's go to that. Let's look at the grammar usage. So for the sentence structure and punctuation. So usually the passage consists of simple and compound sentences. So two types of sentences are being used here. Commas and periods are used to separate the ideas and actions, making the narrative clear and fluid. So you can see sentences are complex and simple as well, and they are separated using periods and commas. That is basic sentences usually done in the English passages. So next one is verb sentences. So passage is written in the past tense. So some ideas are taken back from the past. Example, he threw back the covers and sat upon his bed. So it's a past sentence. In the passage, the doctor got into his clothes. So that is also past. These are the examples of sentences that are in the past. Next one is modifiers, adjectives and adverbs. So already I have mentioned floor, that is cold. House is little white house. Okay, so these are the adjectives that are used, and adverbs are insistently and already. These are the adverbs used for your passage. Next one is pronoun. So when it is mentioned pronoun, to refer to Dr. Benson, this is being used here. You can see he is the word, that is a pronoun, and he threw back the covers and sat upon his bed. So he is a pronoun here. His mind also complained. So again, it's referred to Dr. Benson's mind. So this is also a pronoun. Prepositions are used to show the relationship between two words in the sentence. So the wind felt like a surgeon's knife at his face. So the preposition at signifies the usage. Next is direct and indirect speech. So direct speech, he talks on the phone and says, this is Dr. Benson. So it is direct speech. And the indirect speech reflects his thoughts and feelings, like something that is put in the direct speech. Next one is conjunctions. So in that we are using, or the example given here is to, that is, you can see here, and is used, but is used. So these are the conjunctions used in the passage. Next one is article usage. So the article are definite articles the, indefinite articles a or an, and you can see here that is used in the example. The telephone ringing insistently a dozen children. So these are the articles used. Next one is modifiers and descriptive phrases. Descriptive phrases and modifiers are used to add the detail and depth to the narrative. So like, the wind felt like a surgeon's knife at his face as he opened the door. So it is a usage of simile. You can see how the wind is being compared to as the surgeon's knife. So that is another usage. So these are the grammars that are being used in the passage. Hope you understood some of the contents of grammar that are being used in the section 1. After reading the section 1 of lesson 8, a case of suspicion, we can have some questions to answer. Let's see these questions. What are the questions can be framed and its answers. Okay, so let's see the first question. What time did the telephone ring and how did Dr. Benson react? So that's the question. So answer would be, the telephone rang at 2 o'clock in the morning, and Dr. Benson, feeling the interruption was unwelcome, and got out of the bed and answered the call. So he was not happy about that, but though he answered the call. What were Dr. Benson's feeling about being called at such an hour? That means it was too late to call. So how did he feel? So what can be his feelings? So Dr. Benson was not very much happy, and he was frustrated, and he complained about the horrible hour, or the time that the babies are born for the patient. was wondering why the children had to be born at such inconvenient times. Next one is, what items did Dr. Benson take with him when he left for Mrs. Sorley's house? So when he went, he had two handbags. One is a short pill bag and a long theoretical case, also known as baby bag. How did the weather affect Dr. Benson's journey to Sorley's house? So it was November wind, or the time was November. So it was a cold weather, chill weather, and he describes it as a feeling of surgeon's knife against his face. That means it was very chill, and the cold made starting his car difficult. So because of the cold, his car was making noises while starting. Then after reaching the highway, it was all good. He had to run against the wind to reach the garage. What was Dr. Benson's opinion about Mrs. Sorley's pattern of childbirth? So Dr. Benson felt that Mrs. Sorley had an unfortunate pattern of giving birth in poor weather and at inconvenient times. He also resented the financial arrears from her family. That means the father of the family was having difficulty in paying the baby bills. He had financial crisis on that. How did Dr. Benson experience compare with that of his father? So his father was also a doctor. So while Dr. Benson struggled with the frequent late night calls and financial delays, his father, the old dog Benson, seemed to take a certain satisfaction in dealing with the unpaid bills from the Sorley family. So his father also used to be a doctor, but he was happy with, or he was not frustrated with the unpaid bills from that family. What detail about Mrs. Sorley's family situation contributed to Dr. Benson's frustration? So Dr. Benson was frustrated with Mrs. Sorley. Sorley had enough number of children, almost a dozen children, and then she never had a baby in a good weather or during the daylight. That was Dr. Benson's frustration. What specific challenge did Dr. Benson face with his car as he left for his call? So when he started the car, it had difficulty starting and it was coughing or sputtering, and it was not smoothly running before reaching the highway. What were Dr. Benson's immediate action after answering the phone call? After answering the phone, Dr. Benson got dressed, prepared his medical bags, and he had a cigarette in his pockets, and then braved the cold weather to drive to the patient's house. How did Dr. Benson prepare himself mentally and physically for the call to Mrs. Sorley? So mentally, he was complaining about the inconvenience at the time of the call. Physically, he was getting dressed and packing his bags, and he was ready to start his car and go to the patient's house. So hope these questions helped you to understand the paragraph better. Now let's move on to in-text question given in the textbook. So in-text question 8.1, first one is state whether the following statements are true or false. So let's see, the doctor in the story was an elderly man. No, he's a young man. So this is false statement. It is mentioned in the last paragraph. His father had been a country doctor too. Yes, true. The doctor liked the late night calls. That is false. The doctor carried 2 bags on his visit. True. Mrs. Sorley was having her first baby. That is false. She already had a dozen kids. Answer the following questions briefly. At what time did Dr. Benson receive the call? He received the call at about 2 o'clock in the morning. Who did he visit and why? He was visiting Mrs. Sorley, and he was visiting her because she was about to deliver her baby. What did the doctor carry in his bags? The doctor carried 2 bags. One for the pills and another one for the obstetrical. He was carrying two bags. One is short pill bag and a long obstetrical bag, or no, also known as baby bag. Did the doctor receive prompt payment? How do you know? The doctor did not receive prompt payment from the family because the father had always difficulty paying the bills that is mentioned in the last paragraph. Section 1 from lesson 8, a case of suspicion, and also done the in-text questions. Hope you understood the passage. If you have got difficulty, please do comment in the comment section. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to get the notifications on time. Thank you for watching. See you in the upcoming videos.